Workplace rudeness on the rise. And that's what some experts are saying, and they have a study to show it. This study was published by the American Psychological Association, and it says that rudeness is as contagious as a common cold. While data from the University of Chicago says the number of people that feel like they are not treated with respect has gone up since 2002. And a study by the Academy of Management found that a majority of employees reported experiencing uncivility in the past year, but most of it came from just a few coworkers. Well, I am happy to have Cheri Perry, who is a workplace culture expert, and you found yourself, Cheri, with the company that you're in, kind of getting into this study and this niche of studying the workplace and attitudes, kind of by accident?
I did, yes. It's a natural byproduct of being in any business. Pretty soon you start trying to solve one problem and you end up hopefully solving another.
Did anything about this surprise you? I think workplace rudeness is something that a lot of people say they absolutely can relate to. So with the findings that you had with this study, were you surprised?
I was super surprised. And I was surprised because every single person that you meet says, man, I want to work someplace that I love. I want to go into work and feel like I'm making a difference. And everybody feels like that. But it's quite interesting how we treat each other in the workplace.
So I think that leads me into what we can do. You are talking to someone in Minnesota, with viewers in Minnesota, where we are known for Minnesota Nice. And what people don't know is that Minnesota Nice is a lot of passive-aggressive behavior. So help me with that. When somebody's rude, our response should be what?
My first word, immediate. And I'm not talking immediate aggressive. I'm talking immediate. Hey, did that really just sound did you send that to me the way I received it? Because wow, can we step back from that? A lot of times people are so afraid of confrontation that they let it go, and you get that passive aggressive thing that you're talking about. Everything's nice, 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 and then next thing you know, there's a news about a shooting at somebody's work. So I think an immediate response is really good. That takes some training because you obviously want to make sure to de-escalate a situation. But man, if you let these things in the workplace environment go, you're opening yourself up to lawsuits, you're opening yourself up to disgruntled staff members, reduced productivity, and reduced bottom line.
What happens when, and since you're an expert on this, I'm looking for some real good advice here. What happens when the immediate response is what you just said, and the person is very, very defensive? How do you take down some of that defensiveness?
Well, one of the things that you can do is you can do something called resisting the urge to react. Right? So you've made a comment, you've made a statement, you've said, hey, listen, did I get that right? And now you got somebody coming back at you. The best thing that you can do is back off and let some heat die off of that situation for a minute if it's going to get out of hand. A lot of times, though, if you start really getting an environment in your workplace culture where people aren't afraid to say, hey man, let's talk about it, and that takes some time, but once you develop that kind of a transparency in the workplace environment, the escalation part after that initial confrontation really does start to reduce itself. And the reason why is because people then soon realize that, you know what, you want a good workplace environment, so do I. Let's out.
Yeah, and a lot of times people will say the three things you don't talk to at a family function, in a bar, whatever, is always politics, religion. Those can be very controversial topics just because people are so emotional about them. Help me out. I'm in a newsroom where we talk about those things a lot because they come out on the news, and behind the scenes what people don't see is as we discuss them as stories, we have conversations where people are very divided on something like that. So when it's a divisive issue, how to kind of broach that?
I go right to country music. It sounds like a silly correlation, but there's a song that says, I start walking your way, you start walking mine. You know what? You're not all the way right, and neither are they. There's got to be a middle ground, just like the founders of our country found a way to get along If you have to be absolutely right about 100% about everything, it's going to make it real difficult no matter what work environment that you're in. So try to take a second and look at it from the other person's perspective. And if you can't agree, then just get used to these words: agree to disagree. We don't have to agree on everything. We have a lot more in common than what separates us. And one of the ways to have the best workplace environment, even in the newsroom, is making sure that you understand that the person across the way from you has a lot more in common with you than separates you.
Amen. That is some beautiful advice. Cheri, I appreciate your time and thank you for this.
My pleasure. Hey, one more thing.
Yeah.
I just want to say Mr. Ziglar left us with an amazing quote, and this really helps to solve most workplace issues. You can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people get what they want. If you want a great workplace environment, serve it up the way you want it.
I know.
It makes all the difference.
It does make all the difference. And surround yourself with good people. That's the other thing, too, because sometimes you just can't change someone else's opinion.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thanks, Cheri.